Spanish doesn't have 300 irregular verbs. It actually has 3, and you probably already know these 3.
Podré para mejorar mi español cuando no tengo mucho tiempo libre para estudiar español.
Soy Hamid, hablo 4 idiomas y aprendí español 4 veces más rápido que el estudiante medio en solo 120 horas. So, irregular should mean unpredictable, right? When someone hears irregular verbs, there is that click in your brain that just says, oh, it's unpredictable. There's no sort of way to understand it. It has to be memorized. That's like the real meaning. Now, I do recognize that, yes, okay, by the textbook definition, all of those verbs are technically irregular because irregular just means that a verb just breaks those sort of regular rules, okay? But in reality, irregular should mean unpredictable. It means that you can't derive it. You can't guess it in any way. In reality, there's only 3 verbs that actually function that way, right? 3 or 4 maybe. How irregular is it if it happens over and over again is my question. Because probably every single irregularity in Spanish, except for the 3 that we'll talk about today, happen over and over again. And so how irregular is something if it occurs regularly, right? Now, obviously not as regularly as regular verbs, but regular enough that calling them irregular to scare people in order to memorize them is probably not the best decision. What I mean by this is some verbs have just one rule that apply to all of them. In the present tense, there are some that happen based on stress, and what happens to them can change a little. And so you get something called like stem changing verbs. I don't like, using those complicated words, but it's kind of like how poder becomes puedo, right? Contar becomes cuento, etc. Costar becomes cuesta, and so on, right? What I'm referring to here is that like irregular verbs, they have shared pieces, okay? They're not just random, which is what the word irregular hints at, right? The word irregular implies that it's unpredictable or random. But for most of the irregular verbs in Spanish, for a majority of them, they do all have similar shared pieces, okay? And so one example of this is in the present tense, there's a ton of them that just end in go, right? You might get, poner becomes pongo for I put. Salir becomes salgo for I leave. Hacer becomes hago for I do or I make. I have becomes tengo, right? You have all these ones where they're just irregular in their present tense form, but then the rest of them might be regular. So for example, ver, to see, it should be bo for I see, but it's veo. But the rest of the forms for all the other pronouns are regular. Same thing with dar and saber. And so these verbs, these irregular verbs that seemingly you have to memorize all of them, aren't actually fully irregular, at least not to the extent that the textbooks want you to believe. And if you're just starting out, I'd highly recommend checking out the Speedy Spanish Roadmap. It's a free course I created to help you start learning Spanish with these methods. And you'll find it in the first link in the description. And so another one of those groups, technically they're called stem changing verbs. But forget that, it's very annoying, like semantic language. These ones, they just split the first vowel, if it's an E or an O, will split into, if it's an E, to IE, and if it's an O, to UE. And that's for the first vowel. And then there's another group where if the two vowels are E and I, like pedir, servir, elegir, then the E will become an I because of stress. And so when I say because of stress, this is what I mean. When you say I speak in Spanish, you say hablo, right? Hablo. The stress is on the beginning A, right? Hablo. It's different from hablo, where the stress is on the ending. It's on the O, right? And so because there's stress on that E, right? E, it will split into IE. And same thing with O splitting into UE. Verbs that have E and I, like that, like pedir, servir, elegir, etc., they will have the beginning E turned into an I because of stress. And none of this actually happens for the we form. When you conjugate in the we form in the present tense, meaning you take off the ending and you add amos, emos, or imos, you're actually moving the stress to the ending. And so what happens is the beginning vowel stays safe. The beginning vowel doesn't have stress on it anymore. And so this splitting for verbs like tener or poder, or this E being replaced by an I for verbs like pedir, servir, elegir, they don't happen for the we form because you're moving the stress to the ending, right? You're saying tenemos. You're not saying tenemos, you're saying tenemos. And so there's no stress on the E anymore because it's moved on to the ending, which is why it's not tienemos, it's tenemos. Or for example, it's not podemos, it's podemos, right? The O doesn't split for the nosotros from the we form. And so there's over like 100 verbs that work like this. And they all follow a similar pattern like that. How irregular is it if they all have similar shared pieces, right? I already know I'm going to get a lot of hate comments from like these language nerds who these specific standards and like textbook definitions and they believe that you can't get fluent in less than 500, 600 hours because that's what the average person gets. It's like, yeah, the average person gets that. Does the average person do the correct things? Probably not. Anyways, this also applies for other tenses, okay? So sometimes you'll see similar sort of vowel age going on, or patterns going on for other tenses for irregular verbs. And so you could infer many conjugations for these, right? You see like this you is very present in the preterite. I call it the point in the past, also known as the preterite. And so it's like these irregularities have so many overlapping patterns that it's not worth it to memorize these. And that calling them irregular and inferring that they are to be memorized is causing more harm to you in your progress than good. And some of them might be irregular on paper, but then when you say them, they don't even sound irregular. And so in reality, there's only 3 that are actually irregular. And sometimes it might include 4. And then those are ser, ir, and haber. Okay, these are 3 that are fully irregular, meaning you won't find their pattern anywhere else for the most part. They still do have some overlapping things as well, which is kind of funny. You could also include estar as another one. But its irregularity is more so like technical, and it also has a lot of overlapping, and so I wouldn't call it as unpredictable. This means that they don't really follow any other pattern. Okay, funnily enough, these do overlap each other a little. For example, ser and ir, they actually have the same exact conjugations for the past tenses, meaning the preterite, the point in the past. I was is fui from ser, but I went is fui from ir. But the interesting thing here is that you probably already know these just from exposure because of how common these are. And generally speaking, the more commonly used the verb is, the more irregular it will be. And so that's why actually these are the most irregular. You probably heard of soy, which is a conjugation from ser, right? You probably heard of boy or vamos, right? Which comes from ir. Or you might have heard of which comes from haber, which is when you want to say I have done something, right? Even these irregular verbs, the way I would learn them myself isn't from a chart. It's from repetition, from hearing it 1,000 times and then searching it up and actually seeing it. Because even irregularities in English that sort of don't make sense, right? The past tense of speak should have been speaked. Why is it not speaked? Who knows, right? It's irregular. It's actually spoken, right? You don't say speaked, you say spoken. And actually, kids make the mistake of saying speaked, right? Instead of saying spoken. But you didn't memorize that. You didn't see it on a chart, did you? You just heard it from being exposed to it all the time. The same way that you've been exposed to soy and vamos and maybe the way you want to sort of learn the irregularities isn't through memorizing each individual example. It's through exposure to real native Spanish and then finding it out, which would then involve content. And this is exactly what I did. I didn't have a whole sheet of irregular Spanish verbs. Instead, what I did was I would watch native content, and when I discovered a verb, I would search it up every single time. And what happened was the verbs I would search up would always be irregular, namely ser, ir, haber, estar. And what happened was eventually, because I'd searched up those verbs so much and seen their sort of irregularities, I just learned the irregularities naturally by just being corrected all the time. In the same way that your parents might have corrected you every time you said speaked until you finally corrected yourself and said spoken. Exposure beats memorization. You don't want to memorize each individual one because that's ineffective. And so if all these irregular verbs have so many repeating patterns and overlapping pieces, calling them irregular to scare off learners and to sort of imply that you have to memorize them and give them a textbook with this massive chart of all these verbs laid out and all their irregularities shown, in my opinion, is very demotivating, and it's also not sort of reflecting reality, because the reality is that they have so many overlapping pieces. There's really only just 3 irregular verbs, and even these have their own patterns. And so the way I'd suggest you to learn these irregular verbs isn't through memorization, it's not through flashcards, nor any chart. It would just be through exposure, watching native content or speaking with natives in real conversations. And then every time there's a verb, you search it up, and you're probably going to search up many irregular verbs. And the website to search it up on is called SpanishDict.com. And there you can see all the irregularities and stuff. And then just practice that every time you encounter it. And what will happen is you'll practice all the verbs and encounter their irregularities naturally through exposure. And you'll learn them in the context of exactly how they're pronounced and exactly when they're used. And that, in my experience, has been way more effective than any flashcard or sort of chart. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you're interested in learning Spanish and you want help from me, then you can check the second link in the description to join my program. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed and stay humble.